Today we're going to talk about cofunctions. A function f is a cofunction. I always forget the pencil. Of a function g if f of a equals g of b, where a and b are complementary angles. Okay, what that means? It means two trig functions will be equal to each other. They'll be considered cofunctions if they equal each other when their angles add up to 90 degrees. For example, an example of cofunctions would be something like sine 50 and cos 30. Let's see if that works. Oops, well that's only 80, cos 40. (50) and 40, they add up to 90. And when you take sine of 50 in your calculator and cos of 40 in your calculator, you'll see they'll equal the same thing. So they are considered cofunctions. Alright, notice the cofunctions of each other, sine and cosine, will always go together, just like that sine 50 and cos 40. Tangent and cotangent go together, and secant and cosecant go together. They are cofunctions of each other. The way you can remember it is notice the cos in front of the normal secant, tangent, sine. Okay, that's one way to remember it. It says let's do some practice problems. Rewrite each function in terms of its cofunction, then find the 4 decimal places the value of the function. So, sine 65. Let's start by saying I know that my two angles need to add up to 90. So I'm going to take 90 and subtract 65 to get 25. So I'm going to say sine 65 is going to equal cosine, because sine and cosine are cofunctions, 25. Make sure your calculator's in degrees. Type them both in. They should equal each other. 4 decimal places is 0.9063. I'm going to skip the second one because that's an easier one, so I'll have you guys try that. Cosecant 266. Unfortunately, 90 degrees here, we're already over 90. When you're over 90 degrees, what you have to do is graph it. 266 degrees is in quadrant 3. You will find your reference angle. Reference angles from the previous lesson hit the line and the x-axis. In this case, it's where I drew the red. That red angle is going to equal 266 minus 180, which is 86. So I claim that cosecant 266 is equal to cosecant 86. Type them both in your calculator to see if it's true. You will notice that they are off by a negative, so you stick a negative in front of the one you just created. Now that you have an acute angle, something lower than 90, you can find its complementary angle. Complementary to 86 is 4, because 90 minus 86 is 4. The cofunction of cosecant is secant. So it's going to be negative secant of 4. I just follow that negative along. Now we have cos 130. 130 is over 90. It's in quadrant 2. My reference angle then I need to find, it's going to be the black angle. That's going to be 180 minus 130, which is 150. I'm sorry, just 50, not 150. So I claim cos 130 is equal to cos 50. I type them both in my calculator to see if they are true. They're off by a negative, so I stick a negative in front. Now that I have it in terms of a number less than 90, I can do the cofunction now. The cofunction of cosine is sine, so it's going to be negative sine 40. Type them both in. You will end up seeing that it equals negative 0.6428. So those are my two final answers there. Going back up to the one I did in red before, I had to type it in my calculator still. I forgot to do that. And when I do that, I get negative 1.0024. Okay, when we have radian values like the next one here, Let's convert it to degrees first. So 2 pi over 3 is 120 degrees. 120 degrees is in quadrant 2. Remember, I have to graph it because I'm over 180 or over 90. My reference angle is the other side, which is 60. So I claim secant 120 is equal to secant 60. I type in my calculator, I see they're off by a negative, so I stick a negative in front. Now I use cofunctions. The cofunction of secant is cosecant, so it'll be negative cosecant. 60 plus 30 equals 90. Because my problem started as a radian value, I need to end as a radian value. So it's going to be negative cosecant. 30 degrees as a radian value, remember you just divide by 180. You get 1/6 and stick a pi in the numerator. So we get negative cosecant pi over 6. When you type it in your calculator, you get a 2. Let's see. I want to do the next 2 and then I'll leave the last 2 for you guys. So cotangent negative 5 pi over 3. Converting it to degrees first, it's cotangent of negative 300. So we graph negative 300, which is in quadrant 1. The reference angle of negative 300 is my red angle, which is 60 degrees. So I claim cotangent negative 300 will equal cotangent 60. I type them in my calculator to see if they are true, and it actually works. I don't have to stick the negative in front. So now I use the cofunction. The cofunction of cotangent is tangent, and 60 plus 30 equals 90. I do need to end it as a radian value. 30 degrees as a radian value, we just did it, is tangent pi over 6. When you type this in your calculator, round it to 4 decimal places, is 0.5774. Sine 295. Graph it. It's in quadrant 3. Oh, it's in quadrant 4. Whenever I mess up, it doesn't let me erase. Alright, let me just scribble this in. In quadrant 4, this is 295. My reference angle is going to hit the line in the x-axis and be acute, so it's that black angle, which is equal to 65. The way I got that was I took 360 and subtracted 295. So I'm claiming sine 295 is equal to sine 65. Type them both in my calculator to see if it's true. It's off by a negative, so I stick a negative in front. From there, I will use the cofunction. The cofunction of sine is cosine, so it's going to be negative cos. And the complementary angle to 65 is 25. So I'll type negative cos 25 on my calculator. It gives me negative 0.9063 as an answer there. At this point, you can try those last 2 problems as well.